Hello, in this video we are going to start skinning. Make sure that you save before that. You should have in the last video select the joint, select the geometry, go to skin and bind skin, and then you should be able to influence this model. Then if I want to start painting the skin weights, we go over and go to paint skin weights. Make sure that you select the geometry, then do that. There we go. And if you don't see that, double click this button, and if it pops up like this, I usually put it in above or in there so that it's in my UI. And then if your joints are too big while you're painting, you can always go to display, go to animation joint size, and just change the size here. Taking a little bit of time to make it easier to work with is always a good thing. And then the way I like to approach skinning, which is painting influence on our model, is by starting at the very ends of the character or the object. So if it's a character, it would be the fingers or the toes. If it was like a chair, it would be the legs. That kind of thing, where you're starting from the bottom and steadily going up in a progressive manner, so you don't miss a part or get confused. So start with claw, one of the claws, and then something else to know is that we don't usually add influence at the tips of our joints. So a lot of times we'll add a joint at the very end of like a finger or something like that. Those don't, like, if you think about it, we don't rotate from the tip of our finger. We rotate at a joint of our finger. So a lot of times we add those in just for visual clarity of what that bone would look like, but they're actually not needed. So the process for this is select the joint, make sure you're on the right piece of geometry, then go to select, double select the joint or the geometry that's going to be moving, and go to paint and flood, and it should turn white. And you'll notice when I do this, and I progressively do this, that if I go to the next joint, you see how this probably used to have a blue for this claw C, but now it's black. So it took away the influence. So if we progressively add our influence in here, and it will take away the influence of these pieces of, it will take away the influence as it fully moves this one part. So if I do claw C, select, paint, flood, then go to the next one, you'll see what will happen. Flood, A, C, paint, flood. So now if I go back to claw D, you see now everything else is black that I flooded in white, because that means it took away the influence away from that joint and put it all on that other joint that we flooded. All right, hopefully that's clear. So let's go to syringe, select, paint, flood. Then let's do claw base. Select. I'm holding down shift and getting all these parts. This claw base should take pretty much all these pieces and these pieces that are being rotated onto. So that piece, not the actual claw, but the wheel that it's on. That. Okay. So now go back to paint, flood. So it should look like this. It's probably the most confusing part. And then now I start going up. So claw C rotation. So this goes pretty fast as you go to get in the flow of it. Don't forget these little button things that are on top. And if you mess up, it's easy to fix usually. You know, since it goes fast, it should, you mess up anywhere that it's not a huge time investment. Okay, that's base B, and that should be all this. We start getting in here, it gets to be a lot of selecting. Okay, I think that looks good. I've got to paint flood. Base A should be all this. It should be all this plus a part of the legs. And then this is probably the most tedious part right here. If I can get in here. Okay, and then I'm going to select all the middle parts of this, and that will be the part that is kind of attached to this part that doesn't move, that doesn't rotate. Oops. There we go. So now I'm back, flood. Okay, oops. I hit F to go back to it, kind of zoom me out. And now the last part is the legs. So I'll start from the bottom one. Select. So this is kind of the pattern. So this, kind of like a arrow almost. So it should look like that. And then this mid should be this piece. And then these two. So like that. And then the tip should not have anything on it. And you could test it out if you want, just to make sure that's exactly what you want. So that feels good. Yep, that feels good. Just make sure you undo it, the movement. Let's go back to painting. All right. These last ones will be a bit tedious. You don't have to watch the rest of this. This is pretty much all. What I'll do for the rest of it is finish this, and then I will. I'll pause it, and then I'll do a test. Okay, so I finished through. What I would do, these LRAs are kind of annoying to have on all the time, so I'll select all my joints and click on the LRA button, and that way it gets rid of that. And then I'm going to test out. Make sure you test out everything before you continue. You always test as you go, because then you don't run into any situations where you forgot or you missed something, and then you have to go back 3 steps instead of 1. There we go. So that looks good. And then I will, this one, it feels good. That looks fine. It feels good. Make sure that when you do the testing that you're in object mode. So Control Shift right click object mode. And then make sure that when you rotate things, they're not going like wobbling or going into each other. I rotate this. Yeah, that feels good. So just do a quick check, and also make sure that you can undo and get back to the default position. So when I move things to get around, like when I move things, I move it. I'm not letting go of the movement. Like I'm not letting go of my button. I'm moving it and just checking to see if it moves correctly, and then I'll hit undo. Like that. And everything looks like it's working correctly, and I'll see you in the next video.